All right, hey everybody, welcome to the next episode of the Crossroads podcast here. Jesse Parley here with Gage Peart, and we have with us on our podcast today, our guest is Erica Parker.
Hi.
She is a current client of mine. We met back in 2019 when you sent in a mortgage protection form that came in the mail, and we've been in contact for kind of various reasons since then, including another policy.
Yes.
So I appreciate you joining us.
No problem.
And we wanted to just kind of spend some time, getting to know you today and getting some clarity from the client side of our process, right?
Okay.
Kind of what led you to respond to that, what does the coverage kind of meant, for you in terms of peace of mind, or what were you looking for from it in the first place, and how do we end up there?
Okay.
So why don't you introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about you and what you're doing here in Dallas.
Okay, so I am Erica Parker, as you guys already know. I have been in the Dallas Metroplex since 1995. I'm originally from Arkansas, went to school in Florida, and I came here because my sister lived here and my parents are just 5 hours away. So, in 2007, I decided to become a real estate agent. And when I became a real estate agent, I was still in corporate America, kind of been in corporate America since I got out of college. And real estate at the time was just kind of pretty stable, and then the year after the market crashed. So corporate America had to be my friend, and it was just a segue for me to stay in real estate and just kind of understand how real estate worked, the market, all of those different things. So in 2017, I was working for American Airlines, and I was laid off from American Airlines. And because everybody in my family, my mother is a realtor, my sister is a realtor, not so full-time, but she's
Sure.
Has her license.
She has a license, but she's not very active. So anywho, I said, I'm going to do this full-time. And my mom kept saying, this is going to be the best thing that you could do, is do it full-time. And so it is really in line with my personality. I'm a free spirit. I don't like to be confined. I hate being confined. So 2017, I started doing real estate full-time, and it was the best thing that I've ever done. So fast forwarding, I was divorced in 2013, and I have two sons. One now will be 26 this week, or my Sunday, Monday, whatever day. And then I have one that'll be 24 in June. So
Can I pause you there for 1 second?
Yes.
My favorite thing about this, tell everybody what are your sons' names?
Anthony,
And
Shamel Parker, and Anthony Jordan Parker.
so it's my favorite thing.
Yeah.
If she has to yell at somebody, she just has to say Anthony.
Yeah.
That's funny.
So Anthony, everybody was Anthony. My ex-husband is Anthony, and all my sons are Anthony. But anyway, we call them different things. But that was the worst decision I could have ever made, to have everybody named Anthony, because there's a big mess going on with mail and people's driver's license and all kind of things. So anyway, to make with my sons, I have seen in real estate, a lot of people are not prepared for death. They're not prepared for anything to happen. And so in 2014, I had a cousin who was 42 years old. She passed from cancer. And she had a baby, and her baby kind of, I guess, initiated whatever was going on in her body. And so she lived 5 years, and when she died, her husband thought that they had mortgage protection insurance, and they didn't have it. And so that was kind of like my first time of thinking that in life, death is inevitable. So if we're not prepared to die, our families are a lot of times left with just things that they weren't prepared to take care of by themselves, because they're not expecting you to die.
It's a huge setback.
It's a huge setback, and if you're not prepared, it just kind of could make a lot of things that could be a little more easy to get through.
Yep.
Just kind of make things subside a lot less if you didn't have to worry about all of the life things, like preparing for a funeral, paying the mortgage by yourself, taking care of a kid it's just so many things that could take place. So and I ran into so many families. Oh my gosh, I'm afraid of dogs. Please. Scared. Okay, anyway, sidebar. That was the first part of me starting on the process of, I need to get that handled. So that happened. Okay, everything was going on. I had just gotten a divorce. So it was just a lot of things going on in my life. So in 2019, I refinanced my house. And I had just had a client previously that I was selling some property for his aunt, and his mom had died from cancer. So a lot of people had just kind of died from cancer, and he was 24, 25, and his mom had everything prepared, but when she died, he didn't know where to go, what to start. He didn't know anything. He ended up losing his mom's home. And he didn't have anywhere to go. He was like a nomad in the street. And I'm like, this will not be my son's, period. So I have to protect them and myself. And so I just had a discussion with them. I said, if something happens to me, I'm in a car accident, anything happens, you guys are prepared for my death. I have a will. I have policies if I die. I have this house protected, a portion of it, because I feel like when you get to a certain age, you need to start figuring out how to navigate in life. But I want to prepare the foundation so that you can move forward. And that's what I tell all of my clients. Hey, whether you're married or single, you can't prepare for the unexpected if you're not prepared for the unexpected. And life that's what it is, a bunch of unexpected events. So this is something to help you. And so I felt like this mortgage protection, it helped me if I lost my job or if I got ill and I could not work anymore. So
let me ask some specifics. So you write that form roughly 2019, I forget what month, but that form shows up in the mail, right? You read through it, it hits kind of all the things you're talking about, it hitting on, you filled it out, you send it back. I'm sure I called you, we set up the appointment, right? This big white guy comes out, 6'5", probably heavier than I am now, but right, and we sit down and we're kind of, sitting down and talking through all that with you. It sounds like from what you're saying, like you were already there. You just need to find the right thing. So it wasn't like you had to be convinced. It wasn't like you had to be told this is what you need. It was that you knew you needed some version of it, and it was just figuring out basically what that meant.
That part.
Yeah.
And then my dad's in insurance. My dad has been an insurance broker all of my life, so I understand the preparation part of insurance. So that was it.
First of all, I appreciate you sharing, because I think it's really important that people understand this process, because they hear that we sell life insurance, mortgage protection, final expense, but a lot of times they think it's not necessarily for them. But how you explained it is you had significant life events around you, so you already knew the value of it. And I think that it's important for people to understand that, like, if you haven't had those life events trigger you, it's still important. Because one thing that I run into a lot is people are naive about dying. And I think that people want to fray away from talking about it. They want to not have that conversation with their kids or their loved ones. And then when it happens, the kids are lost, right? And I appreciate you sharing what you did, because it's important for just America to understand that, like, even if you didn't lose your family member to cancer in the house, or you had a client that went through that process, like, it's still very valuable to at least educate yourself about the programs, because you're young and you can qualify for great plans when you're young. But where a lot of people wait is when they're on the last quarter of their life. It's now they're starting to, okay, this thing's gonna happen soon. 5 years, 10, I maybe got 5 years or 10 more years, and then they get upset with me or Jesse because they look at the price and what they can get. And it's like, well, there's no one to be upset about besides yourself.
Right.
Because you delayed this, you ignored this, when we all need it at the end of the day. But I just really appreciate you sharing that, because I think it's valuable for everybody to hear, especially from on the other side of things. They hear about what we do and how we do it, and different things that is to be successful. But on the other side of it are human beings, families, kids, and I just appreciate it, because it just shows that there's certain people that are triggered by some type of life event, and then there's people who want to be naive about it. And it's like, there's not that many people in between. Like they're either naive to it, or they've been triggered, or they experienced, or they had a family member who was in insurance. Because I'm not gonna lie to you, when I got into this, I knew nothing about life insurance. My family didn't educate me on it. I found out 2 years into doing this that my uncle, when I passed away in high school, had a life insurance policy. We went out to Utah, spread his ashes, like had this amazing trip after he passed away. And I didn't know it was because the life insurance policy paid out. And now, like, I'm like, no one educated me on that. And I just think it's, the more we can educate America about life insurance in general, the better we set up the future generations.
Yes.
Because it is either a setback or almost like a boost. There's really nothing in between. Like, even if you take care of just your final expenses with your funeral, like that's a boost ahead because you didn't go backwards. It was taken care of.
Yeah.
You can grieve and you can move forward.
Yes.
Like there's either moving forward or going backwards when death comes. And I just appreciate you sharing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you and I have talked about this before. I don't remember if I've shared this with you ever, but for me, like, my dad passed away when I was 25. And he luckily had a life insurance policy in place. I split it with my brother. Like, clearly I'm not retired off of it, right? But, like, kind of talking about not setting you back. Like, I was 25. I chose to take some of that money. I went back to, got my graduate degree, right? Like, I found a way I was paying the semesters, right? Like I came out of business school with no debt. And a big part of that was because I was using that money properly.
Right.
Put some of that aside. Almost 10 years later, a bunch of that money helped my wife and I put our down payment on our house, right? Like, I always looked at that. It didn't put me light years ahead, but it made sure I didn't fall behind. Like,
and truthfully, it sounded like it set you up for success. I mean,
Yes.
leaving college with no debt, I mean, that's a blessing.
Yeah, for sure.
And then having a little, whatever portion it is to put down on your family's first home, I mean, that's impactful. So your dad's legacy lived
Carried
another
on.
10 years.
For sure.
Through you.
Yeah, 100%. And that's, we always talk about, like, you talking about how kind of it felt important to you and how you kind of got into the coverage, right? Like, we've talked before, like, how we got into the industry, and we all have our own reasons, like, but what our belief is, right? My belief comes from my experience on that. Your belief comes from your experience with it. Your belief comes from a little bit of practice, right, doing it.
Yeah.
But, like, your passion now, we want to educate everyone. We want to make sure people know the necessities and.
And I think, like, going back to what you do with real estate, I'm assuming it never really feels like you're like selling something. You're actually providing them their future. You're providing them this home that they're going to call their own. And a big part of that, and to me too, is I don't ever feel like I'm selling something. I'm providing a service. That's the same thing with real estate. You're providing a service to create a legacy for a family. And I'm a people pleaser. It sounds like you are too. And we're in the business of helping people rather than selling people on a vacuum or selling people on the car's extended warranty. Like, that doesn't sound fun, or you can't become passionate about that. So I appreciate you sharing, because I think it means a lot for the world to hear from the other side of things, like I've mentioned. And the fact that you educated your kids, that's going to be in them forever. Whether they use it now, they probably are ignoring it because they're young, right? I'd be too.
Invincible.
Yeah, exactly.
That part, yeah.
But I promise you, whenever something does happen to you and then they get that check, they're going to understand the importance of it. But you instilled it into them at a young age, and I think that as parents, we can all do a better job across America educating our kids on life insurance, so it's not something so far-fetched or a foreign language to people. Because it really is. A lot of times, I mean, just being in this business a couple of years, I always ask people, how life insurance works? And it's alarming to hear the amount of people that tell me they don't. Or like, could you re-educate me? Or could you remind me how it works? And just, it's such an important part of that foundation that you mentioned that most Americans overlook, and they spend their money on different things. Like, we got people with Netflix accounts but no life insurance. we got people with we got people with phone insurance but no life insurance. And saying that $50 a month is too expensive, but their $70 a month phone insurance isn't. because the priorities just aren't
Yeah.
there. And so it's my true mission to just try to educate more and more people. The more people I can impact, the more people I can educate, the bigger of a impact I made across the United States with whatever families that can hear me at least be the advocate about life insurance. And that's what I love doing and why I've become passionate about it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, in addition to that, like with my real estate part of it, the reason why I'm very passionate about it is because I think about some people, they rent for 30 years and they die and they have nothing to show for it but an invoice or a receipt from your landlord. And that's what I always explain to people. I think that the curriculum that they teach in school, they need to take a life segment, because real estate, very important. Everybody has to have a place to live, unless you want to live under a tent, under 635. I mean, a lot of people, that's not where you want to live. So everybody needs a place to live. Everybody needs life insurance. Everybody needs a bank. They need to know how to do certain things in life that I just feel like we miss it when you're young. If your parents don't know anything about it, if they never owned or had life insurance or had anybody to teach them, it's very hard for you to learn something that you know, something you don't know.
That generational change.
It's a vicious cycle.
Yes.
Because the parents didn't leave the parents, and then it keeps going. And how many times, Jesse, have you talked to someone and they're like, "Well, my parents didn't leave me anything."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, do we want to continue the cycle?
Yeah,
Do we want to continue the cycle,
Oh my
or do we want to break that?
Yes.
My parents didn't leave me anything. My kids will be fine. It's like, I
Yeah,
understand
and
that.
you get like, this
No.
is this your first house? Yeah. Awesome. First house, like, yeah, I'm the first one in my family to own a house. Oh, well, that's pretty impressive.
Yes.
But also, like, that's a legacy to protect and leave.
For
Like,
sure.
right?
Yeah.
You're stepping up at the next generation. You don't want to have it revert back at any point.
Yeah, I always congratulate anybody who, if they said it a first-time homeowner, it's like, look, you did something that a lot of people in America won't ever do.
Yeah.
And what I would like to touch on real quick is just, like you talked about, you were a part of corporate America, you got your real estate license so you can dabble in, and then in 17, American Airlines left you off, or around that time frame. Like, can you explain your quality of life when you were working in corporate America to now your quality of life working independently for yourself? Because I think like we try to say that all the time and they hear us, but I think hearing it from you would be impactful for everyone listening.
So, I mean, my quality of life, because I worked for AT&T for 13 years, so my quality of life at AT&T was very structured.
Yep.
And what I realized, I got fired from a lot of jobs too, so let me be clear.
Yep.
The reason why I think I got fired is because sometimes it's about finding what you're good at. In corporate America, I have a degree in engineering. That's just wasn't me. I just did something because.
Well, you're 18 and they ask you, what do you want to do?
Yeah, like, I want to be a doctor. Yeah, no, I really just don't want. I don't even like school, so you know that's the thing.
Get an engineering degree. That's impressive. For not liking school.
Really, it's really not impressive because some things you can do with, you know, it doesn't take
natural.
It's not natural. Real estate to me, because I love people. So when I was with AT&T, I was a trainer, and everything I did, when I did really well, it was always people. It was people driven.
Yep.
So me being with them for 13 years, then I worked for TI for a few years, then I worked at American Airlines. All of those jobs, I just never was the best me, because I recognize one thing about my life. If I am not 9 to 5, I am amazing. When I can do what I want to do, I'm very disciplined when I'm doing what I'm passionate about. So when I stopped doing it, when I stopped working in corporate America, my financial success came at a different level because I didn't have anybody saying, oh, you can't do this. Oh, I need you here at this time. You can take a lunch. Oh, no, you can't go on vacation. When I could make my own decisions, it's like I went much harder. I did. I went much harder. You don't have to tell me where to be and what to do, because this is my money. How can I make money if I have to tell you to dictate me to how to be? So I think my quality of life now is, it's really great because I am free to be me all day. And you know, a lot of people get irritated by it. I got married in 2019, at the end of 2019, and my husband, it drives him crazy because I'm like, he's like, where are you? I'm at the gym. Well, I don't need anybody to give me structure. I love being free.
I think you two things. One, it feels like you spread your wings,
That's
right?
it.
And you can really be yourself. But the second thing that I really took away is you said discipline, and you emphasized the discipline part, because so many people want the independent life, but don't have the discipline to have the independent life. And I think when you also mentioned your passion. I think like once you find your passion, it drives you. And when you have a passion, the discipline comes just unison with that.
That's facts.
Yeah, for sure.
And I just think that so many people have the same ability to break away and be free, but you have to find what you're passionate about at the end of the day. And so many people are just like, okay, got this job, gonna work here for 20 years, get this retirement, and they're not striving for the best version of themselves. They lower their standards, accept what they got, and try to move up this corporate ladder that may be there or may not. And then you get people who are 40 or 50 years old and they're just like very unhappy. And you get people who they got to pick up a case of beer every Friday for as soon as they're done with work. And it's just like that should be like, instead it should be Thursday at noon because you decided you wanted to. you know what I mean? Not Friday at 5 o'clock every day. The gas station clerk knows who you are because you show up at the same time every single week, because you're not truly happy. And then you drink your sorrows away, and then you accept less than what you're really fought out to do. And so I appreciate you sharing that, and I figured you would give us a great answer on that, because you went from having these shackles on yourself to being able to spread your wings, control your life. And we all have the same opportunity. We live in America, the land of the free. Anybody can do what they want. And I mean, what's funny to me is it typically is always these big business owners or successful people. They're from other countries.
Facts.
And it's because they start so far behind, but they're so driven, they get ahead. And us Americans want to complain about something, or the entitlement or the victim factor, and want to play these different cards. And then we get people, and then we get upset because we're like, how does he have this company, or how does he have this success as well? Because he wanted it more than you.
He went out and got it.
Yeah.
That's right.
He didn't take no.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's crazy to me that that's just how America is. We're so privileged that it actually sets us back.
We're underprivileged because we are so privileged.
Yes.
That's for sure.
Literally. But I appreciate everything that you were sharing today.
Yeah. Well, I think we've been pretty privileged having you come and
Thank
share.
you.
Yeah, I appreciate taking
It's a
time
pleasure.
out of your day.
We
Means a lot.
appreciate that. And
This is something no one in our company has really done. So
Yeah.
this is going to be something super impactful. I feel like not only for the agents, but for the agents to share, so then their markets or their reach on social medias or whatever can see this. And I hope that there's one person out there today that you heard from her today, that you, no matter what position you're in, can still change your family's future by just talking about death. I mean, it's that simple. If you just talk about death, you're already ahead. But if you fray away from it or neglect it, you're really just setting your family backwards, and really a ticking time bomb until that time comes. And it could be tomorrow,
Right.
unfortunately.
yeah, no one's got. If you know the time is coming, let me know.
Oh my gosh, that's what I say.
If you've got that in writing.
Definitely.
Well, it's been amazing. Thank you guys. Anytime you need any real estate questions or anything,
You're
you know
the
anybody
one.
who, please give me a call.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Erica Parker, 214-364-7238. I'm just okay. Anyway.
I know, you can say it one more time.
Yeah.
Erica Parker, I work with the Real Solutions. I've been doing this since 2007, and call me 214-364-7238. That's me. Call me.
If you're in
All right, cool.
DFW, she's your lady.
That's
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.